Alright, welcome to Old World Gaming. So today, my son and I played our third game of Warhammer the Old World. This time, you can see on my screen, I took my Chaos Nurgle army to the field of battle. So I did a video, I don't know, some point this week, kind of scheming around what I could do with the Chaos army. So I put an army together, and then yesterday kind of recapped the plan. So I'll go through the two armies that we used. So we played 1,000 points. So our first game we did 750. The game after that, so first game was Night Goblins versus Empire. So we played 750 points. Game after that we did. So the first game was the open battle, just the classic pitch battle. Second game we played was an Empire, Civil War, Empire v Empire, 850 points, and we played Meeting Engagement, which is the diagonal setup where some units take longer to appear on the battle than others. And this time we did 1,000 points, and we played Command and Control. So I'll talk through that in a minute. So this is my my Nurgle force that I put together. So this is kind of a motley crew made up of my Beastman army, or models from my Beastman army, my Demon army, and Chaos Warriors, but they are all representing Chaos Warrior units. So you can see here. So, okay, you can see this called Gore Squalor's Horde. In the 6th edition Beastman Army book, there is a little short story about a Nurgle champion called Gore Squalor, and he was ultimately blessed with the aspect of maggot. So my demon army is led by a demon prince that I've created to look like a maggot. However, as Old World, and so I made that army for Storm of Chaos, which was set 200 years after this, right? So I figure that as Old World is 200 years in the past, this here is my Chaos Lord, who is Gore Squalor on his path to daemonhood. So this is before he has been made into a demon prince and blessed with the aspect of maggot. So there we go. So that's what this force represents, is his kind of fledgling force before he ascends to demonhood. So following his journey, at least that's the idea. So this is Gore Squalor, my Chaos Lord. He's mounted on a demonic mount, as you can probably tell. So these I made these back in like 2006, whenever Storm of Chaos was 2000. Oh, maybe it was 2004. Yeah, it was probably about 2004. For my Chaos Demon army. So these guys all made out of expanding foam. With these, we've got plague bearers. It's plague bearers, is it? The demons? Oh man, that's. I was like, am I talking about the Skaven? Plague monks, the Skaven ones. Plague bearers, yeah, the Nurgle demon guys. So made expanding foam, stuck plague bearers in the top, and these are spawn. The old metal spawn had like these teeth type, scythe type things coming out of his back, so I stuck them on to be like jaws. This is the first one I made actually, and then these are kind of inspired by this. And this, my slug, my Nurgle slug, was inspired by the Dune worms, or what very little I knew of the Dune worms back in 2004, which was that Command and Conquer had made a game, and I'd seen some pictures. That's basically it. Westwood had made a Command and Conquer type game. So I made the slug out of expanding foam, and a plastic orc boar chariot, and stuck some beastmen on the back. But yes, so all that to say, these guys were made for my demon army. That was made for my beastman army. However, my Chaos Lord on demonic mount. So used it as a demonic mount, which is fine in my eyes anyway, with Mark of Nurgle. When I was putting him together, I was like, I couldn't really afford many magic items, and then realised he comes with encircled weapons, which is basically a biting blade, so it gives you -1 AP anyway, and magic magic weapon. Plus, he comes with Chaos Armor, which gives him a 5+ regeneration. He's already wearing full plate armor as well. So he's got a 4+ armor save, a 5+ regeneration, or is it a ward save? Either way, it's an additional 5+ save. So yeah, I mean he's hard enough as is, and he's strength 5, toughness 5, with what 4 wounds because he's mounted on a demonic mount. So he's hardcore. So he was fine. And then Malericus, his sorcerer, who level 2 sorcerer, also on a demonic mount, you taking the demonology lore. He's got a lore familiar because there were 2 spells that well, only 1 spell I wanted to pick. The other one was the Nurgle. The Nurgle spell, which gives the unit that he's with +1 toughness, remains in play, and the demonic vessel, which gives you +1, gives the unit that he's with +1 strength, +1 attack, and an additional -1 AP. And these guys, the plan was to put them in the unit of knights, so he could give everyone +1 attack, +1 strength, +1 toughness, and an additional -1 AP. And they've all got encircled weapons, so it's another -1 AP anyway. So they've got -2 AP. So I mean that's cool. I think that is so cool. Anyway, so yeah, that's what these guys are doing. Is they're going with this is Abscoth and the Plague Weavers. So Abscoth is the champion. So yeah, so these guys hanging out with the Chaos Knights with Mark of Nurgle. Plus Mark of Nurgle, right? Means that your opponent has to re-roll their 6s to hit. So it makes it really hard to hit any of these guys. Everyone's got Mark of Nurgle apart from the Hounds. What's it say? Yeah, Hounds don't have Mark of Nurgle, but everybody else does have Mark of Nurgle. Spawn of Nurgle. Okay, the Spawn actually get a different ability. Spawn of Nurgle gives you poison attacks. Yeah, poison attacks. Everything else has got Mark of Nurgle though. So yeah, really hard to hit everything. And then yeah, they're just very, very good, particularly with all those extra buffs if I can get them off. And then this is Fastidious. So the on the chariot, I've got I stuck a Pestigore, and then just like the chariot, beast man with the whip, and then gave him a cool spear. I think it was the Orc spear from the Orc chariot. In the book though, so I've used it as a gore beast chariot because that is like a goring beast, so yeah, I figured that fit. It's got a single creature pulling it, just like a gore beast chariot does, and the crew are just called Chariot Crew, I think, something like that. Chaos Chariot Crew. So they're not like called Chaos Warriors. So I figured, you know what, they could be a Pestigore and his gore buddy. So this is Fastidious, who owns the slug, the Nurgle slug called Blobius. So there we go. So Fastidious and Blobius. Blobius is kind of like his pet, but who knows? Fastidious is his handler. But yeah, so there we go. So this is a gore beast chariot again, Mark of Nurgle, and the guys count as having halberds. These guys, I made them as demon plague riders, which essentially are a plague bearer on top of a chaos spawn in Storm of Chaos demon armies. But they're just my spawn for this army, and I feel like that's quite fitting because a spawn is just some sort of warped person anyway. And in the lore, or it used to be, I haven't checked recently, but plague bearers used to be humans or mortals that were turned into demons by Nurgle. The only other than Demon Princess, the only type of demon that went down that route. So when they contracted Nurgle's plague, it slowly turned them into Cyclopean plague demons. So there you go. So, and I feel like that's so maybe these guys are on their way to demonhood. Who knows? In the sense of being plague bearers, but at the moment they are spawn of Nurgle, all bloated and whatever. So there we go. So these are my chaos spawn, and then some hounds because I need core units, and I have hounds. So there we go. So yeah, so that's my army, and I thought it's 1,000 points. It looks quite small, but then it is chaos, and they're all rather hard, apart from the warhounds. But even the warhounds, I gave them poisoned attacks and armored hide, and I gave them vanguard, which I completely forgot about. So I didn't use their vanguard in the game, not because I didn't want to, but because I forgot. So there we go. So that's Gore Squalor's Horde, my 1,000-point chaos army, and then this was my son's army. So he's got Mornruck's choppers. So this is Mornruck, his Black Orc Warboss on Wyvern. I love that model. I think it's the coolest Wyvern model the Games Workshop have ever made. And they've made some cool Wyvern models, so don't get me wrong, but I love it. I think it's perfect and orcish and brutish, and yeah, it's great. You could probably fit it on a smaller base size, but we made this before Old World came out, so we didn't know what base size stuff was going on. But yeah, so that's this is the Arachnarak base size basically, but it works fine. So yeah, so this is Mornruck Gutslitter riding Molrog, his wyvern. So Black Orc Warboss, full plate armor. It's cool that they've given Black Orcs full plate armor, because previously they had like heavy armor, and it might have. Trying to remember if they had light armor when they were in 6th edition, maybe 5th edition. Could have been heavy armor, I don't remember. But full plate armor is very cool. So yeah, so he comes with full plate armor. And he has the battle axe of the last big war, which gives him. It's basically it is a great weapon, but gives him plus D6 attacks until he rolls a 6, and then it runs out of power. But he still gets those 6 attacks. But yeah, so that is cool. They have got 4 attacks, and he's got Furious Charge, so he gets an extra attack on the charge, plus his D6 attacks. So that's like a maximum of 11 attacks, which is very good. But obviously if he gets the 11 attacks, he'll only get that once. So yeah, so this is his general, Black Orc general on Wyvern, wielding the battle axe of the last big war, which is very cool. And then he's got his shaman, Bogok Deathbags, the Orc weird boy, level 2 wizard, lore familiar, and he likes battle magic. You can see the Pillar of Fire in the back. He's just a big fan of the Pillar of Fire and Fireball, and who can blame him, because they're both very cool spells. Fireball is an excellent spell, and the Pillar of Fire is just very cool. Plus, we've made one, so why not use it? But he loves it anyway. Yeah, Bogok Deathbags. I did try and persuade him to use the War magic to like use Foot of Gork, but he was like, no, use my Pillar of Fire and Fireball. So yeah, I mean, like I say, they're cool spells. He's got a Black Orc mob, so 20 Black Orcs. A bunch of them have got additional hand weapons, full command, full plate armor. All good Black Orc-y goodness. If you take a Black Orc character, you have to take a unit of Black Orcs. If you take a unit of Black Orcs, you have to take a Black Orc character. So there we go. So that's Mornruck and his crew, and then a couple of Snotlings, because he needed some more points. But also Snotlings are amazing. So why wouldn't you take Snotlings? Snotlings, I love Snotlings. They're one of the coolest things. Like one of the best units in the Orc and Goblin army, in my opinion. As much as that matters. So yeah, I love Snotlings, and I forgot they have throwing weapons. Oh, that could actually have been used. My son probably hasn't even realised they've got throwing weapons either. And then, finally, but most definitely not least, Ogog Chunk Stomper, the giant, who hangs around with Mornruck, because they do crump in together and like to stomp stuff. So there you go. So that's his army. If I thought my army was small, his army looks even smaller. I'm sure he's got 20 Black Orcs. So model count wise, they're probably about the same. What's that? 21, 2, 3, 4, 25 models in his army. And I've got 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So yes, we're about the same size. So yeah, there you go. Like I say, I thought my army was small, but his army is also pretty small. But there we go. So those are the armies that we used anyway. So we played Command and Control. So I've not played this this scenario before. but this is essentially, there's a feature in the middle of the battlefield, and if you're within 6 inches you can control it, and yeah, so it's a fight to control the feature in the middle. So normal deployment, basically normal setup, except you've got this additional feature, and then yeah, first term, game length, all the same, and then it's victory points at the end. So just normal stuff. And the feature that we chose, so there's four features that have rules in the rulebook, and the one that we chose was the Arcane Monolith. Yes, so this is kind of a magic buff for whoever's controlling it. So you've got the tingle in the air, so the unit that controls the Arcane Monolith gains magic resistance 1. The locus of power, so wizard, the wizard that's controlling it can re-roll a single dice that rolls a natural 1 when making any casting roll. So that's pretty cool. And also you get some extra victory points. So those are the two things really: re-rolling 1s and gaining magic resistance. So yeah, very good. So here's our what's it called? Arcane Monolith. This is our monolith, which is like a Beastman Herdstone that I made a year or so ago. So we were that clearly Gore Squalor is out to come and claim this Herdstone that he's heard of on his quest to daemonhood to gain some more power and prestige with Nurgle. But wouldn't you know, whenever you try and go and do something, there's always orcs about. So yeah, so orcs, they're just always in the wrong place at the wrong time. So this is actually how we set up. So we did. My son won the roll off. No, he didn't. I won the roll off for deployment. So I chose which side and made him set up first. And he ended up just bunching all his guys in the middle, I guess, because he's going for the Herdstone, or the Monolith. So fair enough. I thought I'd spread mine out a little bit more. Plus, I've just got more frontage worth of stuff, and I don't have the luxury of being able to fly over things, so I had to use all that anyway and put my faster stuff around here. Because these guys are, so the slug is movement 6, so isn't even like a cavalry type model, which is adequate. Makes perfect sense when you're a slug. These guys are 2d6 random movements, so they don't even move all that fast anyway. It's like an average of 7 movement. And they're obviously cavalry and horse, wolves, so they all move relatively fast. So there we go. So that was that's the setup. So for each turn, I took an aerial view shot just to kind of show where the units are, and as the units move around, I put some arrows on the board as well to show what's going on to kind of help. So there we go. So this is the deployment. We rolled off to see who got first turn, and I think my son won that roll off. Yeah, and then he went first. So he basically just ran everything forwards as fast as he could, really. And so this is his movement. It's literally just everything going forwards as fast as it can, apart from the shaman who moved 4 inches, because I think he wanted to do some magic. Except he didn't manage to cast anything. I managed to dispel the one that he managed to cast, which was, I think that was Fireball, because he was trying to Fireball at my chariot. Was it the chariot? I can't remember. It was one of these units he was Fireballing at, but I managed to discast that with my what's it called? Not the wizardly one, the other one. Fated Dispel. My Fated Dispel managed to dispel that. And he wasn't in range of this either. Not that mad. I don't think he rolled a 1 when casting that. So then it was my turn. So on my turn, my unit of knights with my general and sorcerer in tried to charge him and failed. So yeah, that's what happened there. They only moved like 3 inches because I rolled ridiculously low on my dice, and then my wizard tried to cast the remains in play +1 toughness on the unit, and I was like, yeah, got 10 + 2, 12, but then he just like irresistible. I can't even remember what it's called, but managed to dispel it with a 6/6. So there we go, with his fated dispel. So yeah, so that was my movement. So these guys tried to charge the wyvern but failed. These moved forwards not very far, but some, and the hounds came around the side. I held my chariot back because my chariot particularly wanted to try and charge his giant, really. So I didn't want to move it forwards and risk getting charged. These guys are unbreakable, so my plan was he'd charge in and then hold it. So that's the idea. So next turn he moved everything forward some more. He moved, now his wizard was within 6 inches because he wanted to get the benefit of the monolith. Is that what it's called? Monolith, Herdstone, Waystone, whatever you call it. It's a very good job he did because he miscast. He rolled a +1 for his spell and was able to re-roll that one of his ones because he was in range and re-rolled it to a 2. He did, however, before that, manage to cast the Pillar of Fire. You can just about see it there with its shadow. So he cast the Pillar of Fire, but was trying to fireball. That's when he was trying to fireball my chariot. And he might have done some good damage with that, although it's got a 3+ armor save, which we found made it particularly tough. So yeah, so there we go. But essentially he just moved everything forwards, and he also charged into combat. So he charged into combat with his giant, and he also charged into combat with the wyvern as well, with his war boss. You can't quite see that on this picture. So yes, and I think he had to resist. So he didn't have, well, so if we go back to here, you can see the snotlings are within range to declare a charge here, and they've got impetuous. However, because they're within range of the Black Orcs, the Black Orcs told them they better not charge in because they need them to be sensible a little bit. And they're like, okay, do what the Black Orcs tell us. And so they just moved up a little bit instead of making an impetuous test. I don't know why I've got that one twice. Oh yeah, I do, because that was the casting and the re-rolling, so there we go. So the giant charged into the spawn, smashed him around the head with his club, or his bit of masonry on a chain, as the case may be. Took one out and injured another one, and the spawn managed to do 1 wound in return. And his boss charged right into my guys, but much to my son's dismay, only managed to kill a single knight and do 1 wound on the sorcerer. And I managed to do, none of my guys did anything apart from my general, managed to do 3 wounds on his boss. But on a wyvern he's got 7 wounds. Plus he's got 6 toughness. A wyvern gives you +1 toughness as well. I guess now that I think about it, right now, dragons like give you at least 2 or 3. So maybe it's not as good as I thought. But like normal mounts don't give you any bonus toughness. So it felt really good to me. So particularly as a Black Orc war boss who's already toughness 5, to give him toughness 6 is just very, very good. Like these knights are only strength 4 naturally, so they need 6s to wound him. So it was not an easy task. And I didn't have any buffs on the unit because it was his turn, so I wasn't casting any spells, and he dispelled my toughness one. So yeah, they were a naked unit with no buffs. So just a single attack each from these guys. So I didn't basically, like I say, only my general managed to do anything. Although that was it did dismay my son. He only did 2 wounds, and I managed to do 3 back. And he was like, "But I'm so hard with my battle axe the last war on my wyvern. Why aren't I killing all your guys?" So I think I managed to win the combat. Did I win the combat? Yeah, I think I did. Yes, because I did more wounds and I had a banner. So yeah, so I won the combat, but he just got pushed back the 2 inches. He didn't really care. So yeah, so there we go. So that was the turn. All the things I just talked through. Oh yeah, and the other thing is the orcs. Black Orcs moved up. The Pillar of Fire got cast there. and these guys kind of came around to provide a bit of a screen to the shaman. So there we go. Next turn, however, the battle axe of the big war, last big war, rolled a 6, and he just went a crumping. I did manage to get my spells off, both of my spells off, with my wizard, but did I get both of them off? Yeah, I did get both of them off. So everyone got +1 attack and +1 strength, additional -1 AP, also +1 toughness. However, he used his wyvern his wyvern's got like a stab attack with his tail, to do a wound on him and then finish the sorcerer off first, which meant that all my guys lost, because it's a remains in play. The toughness remains in play until the wizard dies. So they all lost their toughness buff, and then he just finished them off with his battle axe. Because he was striking last with his battle axe, he could get rid of their toughness buff before, because it's a double-handed weapon, before hitting them. So killed him, and then just sliced them all with his toughness buff gone, and his battle axe of the last war, because it's an additional -2 to AP. So yes, they were down to like a 5+ save, which wasn't enough to save them. Just my general left, but I think you can't quite see here, but I'm pretty sure it's down to 2 wounds. So I did manage to do take a couple of wounds off with my general. However, my general freaked out and pegged it, so that was a little bit sad. But there we go. And probably rather sensibly, he decided not to pursue, decided to restrain, because I reckon if he'd have come into combat again, my guy was going to attack first, and he probably would have finished him off, because he's still on 4 wounds, with 5 attacks. He's only got 2 wounds, so yeah, I think he probably did the right thing not chasing him up, because he didn't flee. He fell back in good order. My son just wanted to take a picture of him running away. I mean, he had to run away and then rally. But yeah, so so there we go. So he restrained, and actually, so this is kind of an in progress shot, because my guy obviously turned around after falling back in good order, and his guy reformed facing a different direction because he had better things to do than chase my guy, or dive going back into combat with him. The hounds charged into the snotlings. They actually charged through the pillar of fire. So one died, one got burnt to a crisp as it went through the pillar, and then they managed to take 5 wounds off the snotlings. The snotlings managed to kill a couple of hounds. But snotlings are unbreakable, so they just pushed them back a couple of inches and then followed up. The giant managed to finish off the spawn. I can't remember what he did that time. He belly flopped on them. Yeah, so he did a belly flop, which only does 1 attack to each guy, I think. Yes, like it does a template. That's what it is. So it does like the small blast template when you belly flop, because there are only 2 of them. They only took one hit each, but his stomp attacks, he managed to roll a 6, and so did 6 strength 6 stomp attacks, which just finished him off, because one of them only had like 1 wound left, and one was on 3 wounds. So, but they did manage to, because they were attacking first, because I think either they're attacking first or the same time. He's initiative 3. I can't remember if they're 3 or 4. They might have been 3, so it might have been attacking at the same time. Oh no, they would have attacked before his stomp attack. There you go. So they managed to do another couple of wounds. They had poison attacks as well, so that made it much easier to wound him, because he's like toughness 6 and their strength 4, so they're wounding on 6s, but their poison attacks, obviously if you hit on a 6 you wound. So that was good. But yeah, he crushed them. He decided to restrain with his giant as well instead of overrunning, because he had his eyes on the slug. And it was about to be his turn next, because this was my turn. Oh yes, my slug! My slug tried to charge his giant, but refused to, because of the fear rule, which says if you fail a leadership test, you can't charge a fear-causing unit that outnumbers you. And he's unit strength 6, and this is unit strength 5. So it refused to charge the giant, which was very upsetting because it would have mullered the giant, I think, because D6, I think it's like D6 plus 2 impact hits, like strength 5, and then 3 strength 5 attacks from the slug, the gore beast, 2 strength 5 attacks from the chariot crew with their hellbirds. So yeah, it would have been awesome, but it was just like, no, it's big and scary, so I'm not going to charge it, and that made me sad. So there we go. So I would have destroyed him, I think. Never mind. And I'm so gutted about how this combat over here went, because I was like, after that first round when he just killed one knight, I was like, oh, this is not going to go well for him. I'm just going to melee him next turn. But I didn't, and yeah, that combat I think could have gone either way, particularly as I cast the spell that gave them all like an extra attack, an extra strength. I'm surprised that they didn't manage to do more than 2 wounds, but there you go. I just rolled some really bad dice, which makes up for him rolling really bad dice the first turn, I guess. But yeah, so that combat could have gone either way. If I'd have won that combat and killed him, then they would have come into here and probably done a whole bunch of damage. As it was, he destroyed them. So I think that this was the deciding combat, really, of the game. Who survived? Was it his general or my mega hard unit of boys? And his general survived on 2 wounds. My general's still on 5 wounds though, so I reckon he could probably still have him in a fight. But there we go. He decided to run away instead. Yeah, so that's the end of the turn. My general fell back in good order and rallied. He decided he was going to bike it and chip off and find someone easier to beat up. The giant restrained and turned to face my slug, and yeah, my hounds won the combat against the snotlings and pushed them back a couple of inches. So there we go. So that was end of turn. That was turn 2. That was my turn 2. On to turn 3. No, this is just a cool shot of what's going on at the end of turn 2, or beginning of turn 3. Either way. But yeah, so yeah, it looks pretty cool. All via trying to claim this herd stone in the middle. Right. So in my son's turn. Oh, I just got a little bit disorientated then, because the flame was over here, but you can see that at the beginning of his turn he moved the flame through the hounds, and did take out another hound, because there was 3 in the back row, so took out a hound. His wyvern, his boss, flew over here to try and find something a little less intimidating to beat up. Now he's only on 2 wounds. His wizard moved that way because he was planning on, wow, you'll see what he does in a minute actually. And these guys, I'm sure, no, these guys are ready to take a charge from my general who's looking at them over there. So that's what's going on with these. And then his giant charged into my slug, much to my dismay. His wizard managed to cast the pillar of fire. He rolled 7. I just realised for some reason, I don't know, I thought he was getting a +1 to cast from the monolith, but I was mixing that up with the +1 that he would have got if he was in the unit of the Orcs. So I was giving him +1 to his casting rolls because of the monolith. So I was like, oh yeah, so you've got 8 + 2 for your level, you've got 10, and I rolled 10 to dispel, and that's not enough. So there we go. So that's on me. So yeah, so he successfully cast that. I'm doing air quotes for successful, because that was a mistake on my part. He technically failed, but I was misremembering the rules for the or confusing the rules for being in a unit of Orc boys and thinking that was the buff from the monolith. So there we go. My bad. He technically should have failed that. Not that it really matters anyway. So yeah. So he cast his recast his pillar. It was over there, and he just cast it again over here. So there we go. Yeah, the end. Oh, and the Orcs. Yeah, these Orcs have moved forwards a little bit, ready to take the charge. The reason he put that there is because he's expecting my general standing just here. He's expecting my general to try and charge his Black Orcs, and he knows that if my general goes through the Pillar of Fire, there is a chance that, because it's dangerous terrain, he'll take a wound on the way through. So that was his reasoning behind that, which isn't unreasonable. So we moved on to combat. The hounds managed to finish off one of the bases of Snotlings, do 3 wounds to the other one, so they won that combat again, and just pushed them back a couple of inches, because Snotlings are unbreakable and they will just fight to the death, because they think it's a fun game. The giant barreled into my into the slug, and only managed to do a single wound. I can't remember what attack. I think he rolled like a 3. No, it was because it's got a 3+ armor save. He didn't roll many attacks actually. It was like a swing with club or something. No, he thumped it over the head. Is it thump over the head? I'm trying to remember whether it was this one or the other one. Yeah, I think he did the thump over the head, which is D6 wounds, but he rolled a 1 for it. I'm pretty sure that's how it went down. Yeah, and he was most disappointed by that, like very disappointed, and I understand why. I didn't manage to do any wounds back, so the giant won that in combat, and my slug just got pushed further into the rocks. So there we go. So at the end of that turn, that's the state of the board. Yeah, he's recast that already in anticipation of the charge. This guy's moved over here to come and fight some squishier stuff. The giant has charged in and kicked the slug towards the rocks, yeah, there we are. That's where we're at. So next turn then, there wasn't actually much went on next turn, because I realised, I don't have all that many things left. So my general was like, I'm not going through that fire. He didn't fancy his chances against a unit of 20 Black Orc boys on his own without his crew. So I figured he'd go and pick on a giant. And that's it, because my other units are tied up in combat, so I had nothing else that I could do except fight more combats. Let's have a look. Where's the... I can't remember what happened when we fight those combats. Did we even fight those combats? I feel like we must have done. Maybe we didn't. Maybe we forgot. It doesn't look like anything's changed. There is a small chance that we forgot to fight combats. No, we didn't. Look, I can see here the Snotlings are down to 1 wound now, and they were on 3. So we must have had a combat and just basically not done anything. You know what? This chariot was passing so many save rolls with a 3+ armor save. It's just very, very good. That's like Space Marine type save, right? So yeah, 3+. With the fact that there's not much armor piercing around at the moment, just makes stuff with a 3+ armor save very good. Anyway, I'm pretty sure it just survived all of the giant's attacks and wasn't able to do much, because the giant being toughness 6 makes it really hard to wound. But yeah, so there we go. That's what I'm saying anyway. I feel like that's about right. Okay, so next turn, he charged in with his wyvern into the hounds. The Black Orcs have swung round because they were facing that way. Now they've turned around this way. The shaman has cast has moved recast the Pillar of Fire over here because he wants to get it in between my general and his giant, because he can see the charge happening next turn. And meanwhile, his boss just slaughters the hounds, and the hounds finish off the Snotlings, and the giant just absolutely demolishes the slug. It definitely did a load of damage with its stomp attacks. You can see though the slug's managed to take him down to 1 wound. It was a close fought combat, but essentially the slug is just pasted up against that wall now, just like it's a very slimy rocky mess. But there we go. Happy all round when you're a giant stomping on stuff. So that's so there's the moves. Charged in. My hounds did fall back in good order, which was quite impressive. Considering they lost so much. Was it fall back in good order? Yes. they rolled under their leadership. So they fell back in good order. His wizard moved up to cast that. He did try and cast Fireball and failed, because that probably could have done a whole bunch of damage. The Orcs moved round, and the giant reformed after squishing the slug. So there we go. So my turn. My general is eyeing up this giant. He did manage to move, so I don't know if you can see. Yeah, so the pillar of fire was there. At the beginning of my turn, he managed to move it directly in between the giant and my dude. And he's looking at him going, I reckon I can make it through that wall of fire. And he does, and he just like bursts through like flaming... I imagined him like Ghost Rider. It's like coming through with his scythe through that wall of fire and just like taking out the giant. It was beautiful in my eyes anyway. The giant landed on him, but didn't do any damage. In the meantime, his boss finished off those hounds. But I just like the idea of him kind of epically leaping through, if you can leap through on one of those, and just like swinging his scythe, taking out the giant. It's beautiful in my eyes anyway. So that was that turn, and I'm just left with my general. That is all that's left. But his giant is gone, so I feel like I'm making progress. So that's that was how that turn went, and his general restrained and reformed after killing the hounds. So that was my turn 4. Now the turns are much more rapid paced because neither of us actually have much left. So his snotlings are dead, his giant's dead, the rest of my army is dead. All I've got is my general. But my general's on 4 wounds, so who knows? We'll see what happens. And his general's only on 2 wounds, so I reckon in a fight my general can take his general. That's my thinking at this point. So that's why I'm definitely carrying on. His turn then. He moves the pillar of fire through my guy, doesn't do any damage. He backs away because he also is worried about my general. So Mornruck looks at Gore Scholar and is like, he hurt a little bit last time, so I'm just gonna back away a little bit. Meanwhile, however, the Black Orc boys push their way forwards a bit, and his shaman Bogok cast Fireball and managed to look at all those. I was like, you need 5s to wound me, and he's just like rolled out of his 6 hits. He rolled 5 5s. Did I take any damage? I did take damage. I can't even see what. I think that's got 3 wounds. So yeah, so I don't remember how many wounds I didn't save, but I've got 3 left. So I guess 1. I guess I must have taken 1 wound. So what's he got? A 3+ save. He's got full plate armor and a barded. Is it barded? The demonic steed? I can't remember. Maybe it's not barded. Maybe just his 4+ was enough to save most of them. But yeah, so he took 1 wound. So I'm not feeling in the worst place. Obviously, I feel a little bit worse than I did. Now it's frustrating that he backed off with his wyvern, because I was 100% just going to charge in and muller him. But there we go. And that would have been a turning point in the game there if I just charged in and killed his guy. However, you can tell from that I didn't. I tried to charge and I failed, and then just trundled forward, sitting like a sitting duck right in front of the Black Orcs and his wyvern, of course, because it's got like an 18-inch charge range or 21-inch charge range or something. So there we go. So that was my turn. Yeah, his turn 5, literally all he did was back away and fireball me. My turn 5, I tried to charge and failed. So these were quick turns now that we've basically got nothing left. His turn 6, needless to say, everything just charged into my guy, who was definitely like a sitting duck out in the open. The combat, what happened in this combat? I declared a challenge. That's what happened. I declared a challenge, so his guys couldn't actually fight. He accepted it with his boss, because he was charging in and was like, this is the time when I'm going to get my attacks in. But yeah, so he didn't actually. I don't think we injured each other. But he won combat because he had a unit with him who were just like doing all the bits. And he then made a very, very clever move of restraining with his general and pursuing, because I fell back in good order, like 3 inches or something, and he followed up with his Black Orcs, restrained with his boss because he was worried about me killing him. So next turn then, I declared a challenge, and his Black Orc champion wimped out and went to the back, and so his Orc boys tried to take me on, but they won the combat. My guy ran away. He actually fled, like proper fled, because he rolled like, I don't know, 10 or something. So he was bricking it. He didn't fancy his chances anymore, and the game ended with him running away. And that's where we landed. So he's Mornruck's particularly happy. Bogok is very happy because he was enjoying the buffs from that. The additional buffs that I gave him by accident, making it much easier to cast his spells. But there we go. Yeah, I don't know if Mornruck even knew that was there, but he's glad he found it and claimed it. And poor old Gore Scholar, on his quest for daemonhood, has been beaten off by some orcs who just happen to be in the area. But there we go. Curses, he thinks. Need to go and find some other scheme to get my ascension to daemonhood. So there we go, and that's how the game ended. But it was a really good game, loads and loads of fun. That's the first time. My son's never used his wyvern before. He's never used his giant before. I mean, I've not used. He's never used this army in Old World. He hasn't. Yeah, I don't think he. So we kind of built it for 6th edition, but I don't think he ever used any of them. So this is the first time he's used all these models. So yeah, he was very pleased with that. That was the first time. Obviously, I've used mine in Old World. I don't think I have used. I don't think I've used anything on this heart. I've never used any of these models before in any games. I've used these because these were in my demon army, but these I've made and never used. So there we go. So this is the first time, and I've had them for a very long time. These guys only got finished painting like a year or so ago, but I made them a very long time ago. But yeah, so I've never used those models, and yeah, used those loads. But yeah, so all in all, it was a really fun game, loads of fun. Much smashing happened, much death. He absolutely destroyed me though, because he lost 200 points for his giant, and however many points 2 snotlings mobs are, like 2 snotling bases, 70 points. So I got 270 victory points. He destroyed my entire army, plus he got 250 victory points for claiming that. So yeah, basically, once he claimed that, everything else in my army, which is all of it apart from him, so it's the only thing left. So he's 240 points, so he's got 760 points for the rest of my army. So yeah, plus 250 points for the Herdstone that he captured. Oh, and he captured a banner as well, so he's got like 1,000 victory points, and I've got about 270. So yeah, absolutely destroyed me. But yeah, it was loads of fun. So we tried out 2 armies that we've not used before in Old World, loads of models that neither of us have used before ever, and a new scenario that we've not tried. And I managed to get wrong with with the rules for the Waystone, which I only just realised. So, but yeah, it was loads of fun, and yeah, definitely be using those armies again. I think he was very chuffed with how his boss and his giant did in particular. But yeah, there we go. All right, well, hopefully you enjoyed that, and found that interesting. And yeah, thanks for watching, and catch you again in the next video.